Welcome, Robert.
Hey, Felipe, and thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming down.
There's a lot of fun in the afternoon of, what is this, a Thursday?
It's a Thursday.
Yeah.
Thirsty Thursday.
Thirsty Thursday.
Yeah.
Little happy hour, 3 p.m.
That's good.
You drove down from Fort Lauderdale.
I've been in and out of Fort Lauderdale, Miami all day today.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been running around, bouncing around.
All right. Well, thanks for making time for us.
Thanks for the invite.
Yeah.
This is feels like a privilege. It's quite a roster of folks you've talked to.
Yeah, I mean, we've heard your name forever. I've been in Miami 25 years, and I feel like, every time there's a big deal that happens, Robert Given's behind it somehow.
Well, I'm glad the PR is paying off.
How do you sneak into all these deals, Robert? We want the secrets today.
Yeah.
I was telling you guys, this feels like a deposition, so I gotta be. You'll notice I'm a little guarded.
It'll feel less like a deposition when we get under the second glass.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So, first off, let's do a quick cheers.
All right.
You can stay right there, Robert. Welcome to you.
Okay.
Cheers.
Got a nice chilled glass, big cube here with Russell's.
Cheers, man. So,
damn, that's pretty smooth. What are we drinking?
Excellent selection.
Russell's 13.
Russell's 13 Reserve. Shout out to Vinya. We got a liquor sponsor that now provides the goods for us.
That's some good shit.
This bottle
It's an old Kentucky bourbon.
It is an old Kentucky bourbon, and this bottle's like a $600 bottle is what I was told today by Nick Garcia.
All right,
well, that was Vinya. Shout out to Nick.
Yeah, Nick, thanks for hooking it up.
Yeah,
that was like a $5 shot that we just had. That's good.
Yeah, so thanks, Nick, and welcome to Bureau as well. One of our podcast sponsors. Mike was our first guest, and you were asking, have you done this all the time with alcohol? And we have since day one. Our shtick has been we have to have a cocktail with our guests to get to know them and kind of break the bread. So welcome, Robert.
Well, thank you for having me.
All right, cool. So you still haven't lost your Southern accent. You still got a little bit of it there.
Well, I think when I drink Kentucky bourbon, it brings it back out a little bit. I'm a Tennessee boy.
Yeah.
I came down here in 96.
All right.
Where in Tennessee were you born?
So I was born in Memphis.
Okay.
And, I was a bartender there.
In Memphis?
In Memphis.
Okay.
Yep. And
you grew up in Memphis?
I grew up there. I left when I was 25 or 26 and came down here to Boca Raton.
Okay.
I was just in Tennessee, the Mastercraft factories there in Vonore, Tennessee.
It's also it's a huge industrial spot, warehouse spot, right? Yeah. One of the biggest in the country.
Well, it was interesting there because that's where they build these boats, and you have all these giant factories on a lake, which it's not super common to find that level of industrial like on water.
I think they also do some submarines up there in the river.
I believe
undercover stuff.
Oh, is that right?
Badass.
Oh, that's cool.
I
believe it.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
There's a big military marine base just north of Memphis called Millington.
Interesting. I did not know that.
Yep.
We're getting top secret on the pod.
I know, right? Getting the inside of Memphis info. So, but you were born in Memphis?
Yep.
Where are your parents from?
So my dad is from West Virginia.
Okay.
Charleston. And my mom is from Memphis.
Okay.
And the roots of the family are basically West Virginia, Mississippi, Memphis, Tennessee, Kentucky.
Yeah.
So
you're a
like
Southern boy through and through.
Pretty Southern.
Yeah.
Pretty Southern. But I got to tell you, I came further south. I don't know how many people moved from Memphis to South Florida. Not many. I don't think I've met anybody else.
Yeah.
I think I'm about the only guy down here.
Although I feel like coming further south is actually kind of like going north.
It's definitely different. It's not as southern as Tennessee is. You're right. That's exactly right.
We're talking culturally, not geographically.
That's right.
Yeah. So what was it like growing up in Memphis? Did you grow up like in the city or what was it?
I grew up just outside the city in a little suburb called Germantown. And my family ran about 200 restaurants.
Wow. 200 restaurants.
What kind of restaurants?
So they were called Shoney's Big Boy.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
And
I've heard of Shoney's.
And then we had Captain D's, which was a roast beef group. And then we had Captain D's was the fried fish, like a Long John Silver's.
Yeah. And
then we had Danvers, which was like a roast beef fast food, and then Hungry Fisherman, which was kind of a fast casual seafood.
So you must have been the man in high school.
In high school,
to go to all the, imagine, just be like, you guys want to go get some food?
That's true. We spent a lot of time. We spent a lot of time at Shoney's Big Boy.
I bet.
That's true.
That's awesome.
And I grew up kind of as a young teenager. Everybody in the family worked the restaurants, and so I worked the restaurants as a young teenager. I was cleaning kitchens, and I was cleaning the parking lots and the booths. And at night, after everybody left, I would clean the carpets, and I would cleaned all the vent hoods in the back, which was the most horrible job, by the way. And then, between 2 and 4 every afternoon would change the fryer oil and filter the fryer oil.
And so your dad owned these restaurants?
So my family was an investor in the restaurants. It was ended up being public.
Okay.
And so they just have my uncle was the president. My dad ran a vast region of the restaurants, and my mom worked in one of the restaurants. My grandmother worked in a restaurant. Dang. Almost all my uncles and cousins served at the restaurants. Growing up, I waited tables. When I got old enough, and then I became a bartender. Not one of the restaurants that we ran, but a different restaurant, Houlihan's, and so just always in the restaurant business. It's a big people oriented business. It's really about managing people and that sort of thing, and got probably some of the interpersonal skills that kind of helped out later in life through being in these restaurants every day. Yeah. Every day.
Yeah. I mean, you're dealing with people from all walks of life, right? In these restaurants. In
the front of the house and in the back of the house.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right. That's right.
The ones in the front of the house are probably the worst, huh?
Well, the ones in the front of the house are the ones that got the money. The ones in the back of the house were trying to get the money. Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty cool. So Germantown's how far from outside of Memphis?
Oh, it's just a suburb. So when I was 17, I started bartending.
You can bartend before you can drink?
Well, I cheated a little bit. I knew a lot of people.
Okay.
And so I was bartending at 17, and I was a class president of my high school, and knew a lot of people, a lot of fathers in the area. So the bar that we ran, or the bar that I bartended at, was the place where on hump day, on Wednesdays and on Fridays, all of the attorneys in town and all of the bond brokers, this big bond broker market there in Memphis, would be at this bar. And so everybody's in coats and ties and cufflinks and, dresses. And we had a disco ball and a disco table. We had a disco dance floor and huge bar. We had 4 bartenders all the way down this long bar. And I ran that.
So hospitality business. But so you said you were the class president?
I was class president. Yep. We had Kirby High School.
How many kids did you graduate with?
So we had about 385 kids.
Class of 88?
Class of 88, yep.
So what made you so cool that you were the class president?
I don't think anybody wanted the job. I mean, it got down to me. We had, it's funny. I used to bring these big boxes from the restaurants, from the Shoney's Big Boy, because we gave out these suckers, as people came out, and I wrote on the side of the box sucker votes, and I put it in the cafeteria, so everybody got a sucker if they agreed to vote.
Oh no! Oh, so you bought your votes is what you're saying?
I bought my votes with these suckers.
I love it.
The old-fashioned way.
But I paid for it because the principal made me go pick up all the wrappers after school. So.
Were you a popular kid in high school? Were you a good athlete, a good student?
So. I was a good student.
Yeah.
I wrestled in high school.
Shit. Wrestling is no joke.
Wrestling was a dirty sport.
Yeah.
We did that.
It takes a special kind of person to be a wrestler.
It does. And the guy that was in my weight class was all state. So he always kind of trumped me there. So I didn't get very far in tournaments because he was always trumping me right out of the gate. But I think I wrestled at weight class like 145, 150 in that range, and they'll learn some lessons doing that too. Yeah. But anyways, all my friends either wrestled or played football or something like that, and
you said you were a good student.
I was a pretty good student. I was president of Mu Alpha Theta, which is the math club. And,
okay.
Whatever that's worth.
Yeah.
Did that.
Well, math was your favorite subject?
Math.
Yeah.
Yep, math was my subject.
Anything else you liked?
I like goofing off.
Yeah.
I like math and goofing off. I didn't spend a lot of time in classrooms because I was running around doing the class president gig all the time. They kept pulling me out of class to go do things. So I got to tell you, my worst class was Spanish. Like nobody in that classroom liked me. The teacher didn't like me. I didn't like anyone in the classroom. I didn't know how to speak Spanish. I was not very good at it. One of you guys speak Portuguese.
I speak
Spanish.
Portuguese. Yeah.
Portuguese and Spanish. So I could never bring it together.
Yeah.
Of course, I wasn't there more than 15 minutes a day, but that was my hardest class. She almost failed me. I almost did not graduate high school because of my Spanish.
Oh, really? Wow.
Right. Has that picked up at all living in South Florida?
So I've learned the Spanish looks. I can convey messages the way I look, not so much with what I say.
Like,
I don't even pronounce
pointing with your lips.
Yeah, I don't even pronounce English very well. So the fact that I got anywhere was
when you were
amazing.
saying that, I was like, man, imagine a bunch of kids in Tennessee trying to pronounce Spanish words. That has to be the ugliest accent of all time.
Yeah. So my senior year, that second semester, a couple of buddies of mine, we were in this really bad car accident, and we got thrown out of a car, went off the side of the road, going about 90 miles an hour, did 8 end over front flips. And there's 2 guys and myself, and they were the top athletes in the high school and the football team. And so those guys so it was a bad car accident that we were in. So we didn't finish our high school in the school. It was all at home that last semester.
Wow.
Yeah. So my first time I got on crutches was to go do the graduation speech for the class.
So you were pretty. All 3 of you guys got pretty fucked up.
So Mike, friend of mine, Mike, he broke his neck and had one of those halos.
Yeah.
They put the bolts in your head. And then I broke 5 vertebrae in my back and my hip and pelvic in 2 places each.
Damn.
And I got a plate and 7 screws in this ankle, and then broke this arm off in the shoulder socket.
Jesus.
So the high school, you asked me about high school, but we finished with quite a bang.
It sounds like it.
Yeah.
A literal bang.
A literal bang. Right.
What were you guys doing 90? Were you racing somebody or?
So my buddy, Greg, we'd had a long weekend down in Orlando, and we were driving back home on a Monday, and he just fell asleep at 1:00 in the afternoon on the interstate in South Georgia, and just south of Valdosta in a little town called Hahira. The car goes off the side of the interstate, end over front. Like I said, like
middle of the day,
8 or 9 times, and middle of the day was an embankment, and car got pretty high. Yeah.
Fuck. Jesus.
That's intense.
Mm-hmm. Well, anyways, I don't know how we got on that, but
no,
that's how the high school high school era ended.
So what happened after high school? Did you go to college?
No college. I moved out. I was 17. Right after that accident, healing from that accident, I moved out and was bartending in Memphis.
Yep.
And just never ended up going to college. And
do you have any idea of what you wanted to do? What was your...
Not a clue. Absolutely not a clue.
Just winging it.
I was absolutely winging it. When I turned 19, my younger brother, I have one brother, he's 9 years younger. We just had some financial stress in the family and some things going on. He came and lived with me for a little while, and so I'm just trying to make rent and put bread on the table, and that's what I was doing. I was working the bars and coming home late.
Dang. How long did you work at the bar for?
So I ended up doing that for about 4 or 5 years. And
were you a party boy too, or not really?
I mean, it's hard to finish bartending at 2:00 in the morning and go straight home, go to bed.
Yeah.
So
I was a bartender in college too, and in high school. It's you're pretty amped up at 2 a.m.
At 2 a.m. in the morning,
Yeah.
it's your adrenaline's pretty high. You're pretty pumped. You've been working hard. You might be tired, but it's hard to go to sleep.
Yeah.
And so back then, I wasn't drinking bourbon. I certainly couldn't afford Russell's 13 Reserve. I couldn't afford anything with reserve on it. Every once in a while, I would sneak a little sip of this Louis Trey cognac, but that was the most expensive thing behind the bar. But mostly what I drank was gin back then.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I had to drink a lot of Beefeaters and tonic back then.
Yeah.
Like it was iced tea.
Yeah.
And at 2 a.m, I'm probably finishing the bottle about that point in time.
Dang.
But I got out of that. Because one of some of the guys that would come to the bar were developers, real estate apartment developers, Trammell Crow guys. They developed all the apartments there, and they said, "Hey, why don't you come work with us?" Because they knew my story of my brother, and I was driving across town in the mornings at like 5 or 6 in the morning to take him to school, high school. They said, "Why don't you come work one of our new apartment buildings that we're building, and we'll give you an apartment, and it's in walking distance to his high school."
Oh, wow.
And so that's how I got out of bartending and got into apartments, is basically taking that gig with Trammell Crow.
So you were managing the apartment for them?
I was just leasing. I started just leasing apartments for these guys.
Yeah.
They thought I had a pretty good chops to sell stuff, and then I was just about to leave. I was 6 months into it. I'm like, I'm fed up. I don't want to do this anymore. I want to go back to bartending or do something else.
You were sick of being a tour guide?
I was just felt like I don't know. It just wasn't clicking with me. But then they gave me a promotion and to this new property on the river that they were building called Harbor Town, and an assistant manager. And then about 4 months after that, they made me a manager of a property that was a kind of a tougher property. And, I was making great money all of a sudden.
And you're making more money than bartending.
Oh, yeah. Now I'm making more money. Once I became a year into it, I started making more money than bartending, which was tough because bartending's fast cash.
Yeah.
Cash on the barrel every night.
Yeah.
Nobody knows you got it.
Yeah. You don't have to pay Uncle Sam.
You just keep it to yourself.
Put it underneath the mattress.
Or spend it at the bar.
Yeah.
Give it right back. And so I thought, man, I don't know how I'm ever going to get out of that cycle.
Yeah.
But, a year into working for Trammell Crow, I started traveling to different states with those guys, opening up new properties. So they would send me to different states, different cities.
Had you traveled much when you were in high school to
I didn't leave Shelby County, buddy.
Really?
I mean, maybe once or twice for a vacation on the Gulf Coast.
Until you were well past high school.
Until I was, yeah.
Well, you had gone to Orlando.
We'd gone to Orlando for the class, for the high school club for the weekend. But I didn't get out much. But the Trammell Crow guys had me traveling around the country opening up properties.
Okay.
So I was 21 years old doing that. And
let's give a little back. Can you give a little background about Trammell Crow for some of the listeners that may not know, because they were a big deal.
Yeah, this is like 1989 to 1992 or 3. 1992, I think. I was with those guys 3 years. At the time, they were practically the only national apartment developer in the country. They were the first kind of big national coast-to-coast apartment developer. They also developed office buildings and industrial buildings and et cetera. But a lot of the big national development companies you see today that do apartments were spinoffs of Trammell Crow from the 80s and 90s, or even earlier. So Wood Partners, Crow Holdings, Lincoln, a lot of these guys are spinoffs from Trammell Crow. So that was great training. I just lucked out that these guys were at my bar.
Yeah.
And they happened to be the number one apartment developer in the country.
What were their roles in the company? These guys,
they were developers. They
Okay.
were the developers, and one was a regional operator. They just took a liking to me. Well, mainly because I drove them home after they finished drinking every night.
Hey, that goes as far. Hospitality goes a long way.
Yeah, I'd be looking at them, they'd be on the floor, and I'm like, "Can I get you home?" And so we get to know each other pretty well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you start traveling to different states, and what are you doing in these different states?
We're opening up new jobs.
Yeah.
We're opening up new properties. So I was kind of like the opening trainer to get the thing up and going, each one of these buildings.
So you were training the management staff.
Yeah. And I'd spend maybe 2-3 weeks with them, and then I would move on to another.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
And move on to another one.
You're like the apartment SWAT team.
Exactly. Yeah. It was the opening manager for these deals. And then they called me up and said, "Hey, Mr. Crow's got some properties that he's self-amortized over 30 years. And nobody really wants to run them. Can you go run them?" I'm like, "Where are they?" They said, "Well, there's like a couple in Shreveport, Louisiana, and a couple in Texarkana." By the way, this is before cell phones, boys.
Yeah.
This is back when you had pagers, and then the cell phone had just come out in one of those big like suitcases that you'd put in the front seat.
So this is mid 90s?
This was early 90s.
Yeah.
And so the reception was not great on any of that stuff. So nobody really knew where you were. So I was driving from Memphis to Shreveport, Louisiana, and Texarkana, running these properties, and like once every 6 months, I'd have a phone call with Mr. Crow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I didn't even know what the hell I was doing.
Yeah.
So I did that for a while. And then one of our clients, because we did third-party management as well, Trammell Crow did. We did third-party management. So one of our clients that we managed for liked me a lot, and they recruited me to leave to start their own company. They had about 10,000 apartment units, and they wanted me to run them. And I was 23 years old.
Wow.
And
you making some good money at this point?
So I was making the offer from that company in 1992 or 1993 the company was called Tesco, the Edgar Sisson company. Was $38,000 base plus like 15% bonus potential each year, an expense account, and then they gave you a brand new 4-door white Sable.
Oof.
And so the gig was
fucking Sable, dude. That's brutal.
So the deal was that, but by the way, that was enough money for me to go build a house.
Yeah.
I took that money and went and built a house in my brother's school district.
You know, Felipe, ever since we moved into Bureau, my productivity has been through the roof. I mean, I might actually be getting things done for once.
The energy at Bureau just makes work fun. Plus, with 8 locations across South Florida, from South Miami all the way to Hollywood, there's no excuse for not finding a spot to get your shit done, Ben.
And we're not alone. Over 500 local companies call Bureau home. Everything from creative agencies and real estate firms to tech startups, law firms, and media companies. It's a melting pot of brilliant people, and we don't include ourselves in that category.
We definitely don't include ourselves in that category. Bureau really has space for anyone, whether you're flying solo or have a team. There are suites starting at 100 square feet all the way up to 2,000 square feet. They also don't try to lock you into long-term agreements, and everything is month to month.
Let's not forget the important stuff either. The coffee is top tier, staff is incredible, and has a very entrepreneurial vibe. It's not just a workspace, it's a place where work actually gets done.
That's right, Ben. So if you want to level up your workday like we try to do every day, check out Bureau. You might even catch us sipping some espressos between podcast sessions.
Or tequila.
Definitely tequila.
Tell Bureau the Built World sent you, and you'll get 50% off your first month's membership. See you out there. Cheers.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. And it was a $98,000 house. And when I closed on the construction loan, I had to borrow $400 from him. He was like 16 or something. And he was working at a pet store. And I said, hey, I'm short $400. And he said, that's all I got's $400. I've been saving it up for a year. And so he let me borrow $400 to close that house.
What a legend.
We built that house in his school district. That was pretty cool.
And so you built the house for him to live there?
With me and him and,
wow.
My girlfriend at the time. And then my mom ended up coming to live with us. And so, typical.
So you guys kind of fell in real hard times at one point, the family, because it sounds like you guys were doing relatively well at one point.
Yeah, the 200 restaurants went bankrupt.
Shit.
in the early to mid 80s. That went belly up. So they went public, and then it didn't do well after that. Dang. And they had a bunch of lawsuits, employee lawsuits and stuff that happened. But where was I? I'll tell you guys something. So I'm doing this, building that house.
So you got the offer to go manage the other company
I went to this other company, Tesco, and they gave you that. I know what it was. So the gig was when you get to Tesco, is I walk in and I'm 23 years old. I got my suit and tie on. Back then, we wore bow ties and suspenders. Because it was real proper Southern law office that owned all these apartments.
Okay.
And so when you walk in, the deal is you got to have your coat on and your tie on when you walk through the foyer of the office. Big Southern looking, office building. And white columns in the front, 3 stories. And so I walked in, I sit around this conference table like we have here, and all the other folks that had my job was like in their 60s and 50s years old, and I'm sitting around, I'm 23 years old, and they're all looking at me like,
how'd you get in this room?
How'd this guy get in here? Right. And so they said, we're going to assign you your properties for you to run. So they were assigning me a portfolio of like 3,000 or 4,000 units to run. And the deal was if the property was, if the property was inside 5 hours, you would drive to it. If it was 5 hours or more, then you get to take a plane and expense it back and rent a car. So they assigned me all these properties, and they were in Indianapolis and Chicago and Houston and Columbus, Mississippi, and Dothan, Alabama, and Cuthbert. I'm looking at this, and the properties that they assigned to me were in a ring around Memphis, where I live, between 3 hours and 5 hours.
So you have to drive to all of them.
I had to drive to all of them, and I didn't have any short drives. All the short drives, the older guys kept, and all the flights, the older guys kept. I had everything between 3 and 5 miles from Memphis, 3 to 5 hours from Memphis.
The shitty donut.
The shitty donut.
Hazing the neophyte.
Yeah. Took me a minute to figure that one out.
Yeah.
So I ended up staying there for about 3 years. Learned a lot doing that. Traveling a lot.
When you say you're managing these properties, you're just overseeing the local management teams, making sure they're getting.
Yeah. So I was the regional VP.
Got it.
So I was VP over, all these about 3,000 or 4,000 units, and these were rougher properties. These were either project-based Section 8, or they were bond finance, low floater bond finance, or they were farmers' home properties, or they were seniors properties. They were tough properties. A lot of crime on them, that sort of thing. A lot of damage to the properties, that sort of thing. So
you ever have any sketchy situations trying to go collect rent?
Oh, I had some sketchy situations. I would run after drug dealers. I had people shoot at me.
I was gonna say, you carry a gun.
Oh yeah, one time we had this property. They went out and the roof had collapsed because the roofers at the middle of the night had put all the roofing shingles on one side of the roof, and it kind of rolled over, collapsed from the weight. God. And so I go out there at 2 a.m. All these people are running around, and then next thing I know, gunshots are coming out and they're firing at me. My little brother was with me, and I stuck him in the manager's office because it was surrounded with concrete walls. Stuck him in there. So we had a few sketchy things. Yeah. We had a few guys take baseball bats at us.
Damn.
Yeah.
What do you do? You just run, or
I learned to run. Yeah. I learned to run. So I also learned at what time to go do property inspections.
What time is that?
Before noon. Because at noon, things get a little hairy after noon.
That's when people start drinking, or
that's
what?
when people start waking up.
Oh, okay.
So that's not a good place to be in some of these properties. Anyways, so that was early 90s. And then one of the Trammell Crow guys that were originally the guys that hired me from the bar had moved down to Boca Raton, Florida, and joint ventured with a gentleman named Joel Altman, the Altman companies. And they called me up and they said, and I'd been gone from Trammell Crow for 3 years now. They said, hey, we need someone to come down and operate our properties in Florida. We'd like to talk to you. I'm 26 years old. And I'm like, maybe. So I came down, and they interviewed me, and they said, well, we're not going to hire you. Joel interviews me. He says, the guy doesn't have an education. He doesn't have any money. He's not married. He's got all these things.
All these red flags.
Yeah, he said, we can't bring him down here and let him run operations for the state of Florida for the Altman companies, for God's sakes. And so about a year back and forth goes on, and then I get a phone call one day, and they call me up and they said, hey, meet us at Burns Steakhouse in Tampa. Fly to Tampa, meet us at Burns Steakhouse.
Legendary spot.
Yeah, I'm like, okay. So
you've been to Burns?
Yeah.
That place is amazing.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
I've been there a bunch of times. My in-laws live in Tampa, so every time we go to Tampa, we go to Burns.
It's like a steakhouse theme park.
Yeah, I mean, it's like it's so dark in there, and like it's all carpet in there.
Cavernous.
It's cavernous.
I don't know if they still do it, but they used to give you a tour of the kitchen and the wine cellar.
Yeah, I think they do. Yeah, they still do that. I did that probably 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah,
they had this huge vat about half the size of this room with fish swimming in it. And you order a fish, it's fresh, and they would catch it out of this vat.
Yeah,
and then
that's
cook
amazing.
It. And I remember walking back there and seeing this huge thing, and I'd never seen anything like that before.
Have you been up to the dessert room too?
Oh yeah, of course.
That place is sick.
Yeah.
But I've been going there probably since I met my wife, which was like 16 years ago. Like you barely needed a reservation. Now it's like months and months in advance that you need to get a reservation.
So in that dessert room, so first of all, they hired me to go to the Altman. But now let's fast forward 15 years. Do you guys know a guy named Harvey Birdman?
Mm-mm.
No? Louis Birdman. They did the Zaha Hadid building tower out here, right in front of Miami World Center. So Harvey Birdman, I'm selling a Club Med in Crested Butte, Colorado to him in 2000. I think. And I was at CB, and Nicholas Boudet, who's the guy at Club Med I was reporting to, calls me. He's in Paris. We're in Crested Butte, Colorado. I'm with Harvey. And I said, I think we can make this deal where I'm on the rooftop of this thing in the middle of the summer of this Club Med in Crested Butte. And I said, I think we can make a deal with Harvey and we can sell the deal. And they said, well, okay, well, bring Harvey and meet us tonight at Burn Steakhouse in Tampa. I'm like, what are you talking about? They said, we'll bring the contract. I said, well, let me ask him. So I go ask Harvey. I said, hey, we was in his plane. I said, do you want to fly there and do the contract? He said, absolutely. Let's go. Let's do it. So we fly there. We negotiate this 60-page purchase and sell agreement.
This should never happen anymore. I love this.
In the dessert room.
Oh, that's awesome.
In the dessert room you guys are talking about. And we initialed every change to the contract and signed the contract that night.
Attorneys present or
no? No attorneys.
I love that. I love
just
it.
business person to business person. This little broker.
We need that cowboy shit more often.
Yeah. And we closed that deal.
That's so sick.
We closed that deal.
So you closed 2 deals. You got hired at Burns, and you closed a big Club Med deal at Burns.
Right. So they hired me, the Altman companies. I came down. I'm running operations state of Florida. 1996, I moved to Boca Raton from Memphis. I put my brother in a car to go to college. And 3 hours later, I got in a car and came to Boca.
Where'd you rather go to college?
He went to Mississippi State in Starkville, Mississippi, and was in construction management.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and he works for a company down here called Rendina. They do. He lives in Memphis and he operates out of there. He kind of handles stuff from there up to Jersey, but the company is based down here in Jupiter called Rendina.
And how did
medical office buildings?
How did Boca feel once you got there?
Like a different world, completely different country. Man, I'm 26 years old.
Single?
No, my wife, who passed away last year.
Wow.
She, her and I met in 1992. So we were 4 years into our relationship. We had not yet gotten married in 1996 when we moved here. So her and I moved down here together and lived on a little condo on the beach
in Boca.
Yeah.
What about it was such a different world?
Well, first of all, just seeing the beach.
True.
Yeah.
It's a lot of water.
It's kind of a big deal.
But Boca in like 96 was really a lot of old people there.
But they rolled up the sidewalks at 9 o'clock. I mean,
Yeah.
there was nothing happening after 9 o'clock. And then I had this huge responsibility. I went from all these properties that I was running that were kind of like, subsidized housing that I was doing, and then running after criminals and, trying to keep the place being burnt down and, keeping things together. All of a sudden, these luxury apartment properties. I mean, Joel Altman built, was the top developer in South Florida at the time and built all these luxury apartment buildings. So I went from one extreme to the other extreme.
Yeah.
And I'm learning how to do these lease ups, which I had done at Crow in the training program, but that was, years ago. So 26, I moved down, and I'm running operations, probably 5,000 or 6,000 units in Florida, in Tampa and in Gainesville and in Melbourne and Palm Bay and Kendall and all through Broward and Palm Beach counties.
And was it easier or harder managing the more luxury stuff?
Oh, it was nerve wracking.
Really?
Absolutely nerve wracking.
Higher stakes, or what's the
higher stakes? You guys may not have met Joel. He's an incredible guy. He's retired now, and but he is a demanding individual. I mean, precise, wants the details of a deal, wants to understand what's happening. He knows the numbers and the operations of every property he's ever built. And he was also somewhat of an artist, so a perfectionist in a lot of ways. And when you went to sit down with him, you needed to have everything together. And I had come from, me being the guy that everybody reported to. And now I'm report a lot to him on a daily basis. And
you feel like you got to have your shit together because he's
going
to grill you on everything.
He's going to grill you, right? So he taught me. He either taught me or kind of created me or developed me into someone who was a little bit more controlling with your business, in particular about how things looked. And I learned a lot from him. I learned about creating an experience for the consumer in the apartment business. Lines of sight when you walk into your apartment unit. You want to be able to. You want to have a visual experience when you open your door to your apartment unit. We spent a lot of time with our architects, kind of, adding in, more closet space, being able to put king size beds in the bedrooms, being able to have proper closet and bathroom layouts, and kitchen layouts, that sort of thing. We spent a lot of time on all that stuff, and we spent a lot of time on site plans. So it was important that, like, if it was on the intercoastal waterway, or it was on a lake, that everybody that lived in the apartment community got to experience that, even if their unit didn't overlook the water. So we would make sure that the driveway from the entrance would go by the water, or that the landscaping around the pool was opened up so they had good vistas of a lake or a river, or the intercoastal or something. So a lot of landscaping stuff. So anyways, I learned a lot from Joel.
That level of intentionality is really cool, because that doesn't always happen. I think a lot of guys it's a money grab, like whatever makes the most money. So it's cool to hear like that level of intentionality.
That was not our case. If we went into what we called a value engineer meeting to try to get the development cost of a project down, by the end of the meeting, we usually spent more money because it got up. And so, like, it was just the opposite, because Joel was a perfectionist in that regard. I would later, after I'd left the company, and I left the company in 2003.
So you worked there for how many years?
7
years.
In the last 3 years, I was the president and chief operating officer. So when I turned 30, Joel says, when you turn 30, I'll make you the president and chief operating officer. And so it was in 2000. And so I was, that's what I did from 2000 to 2003. And we had about 15,000 units in Chicago and Michigan and the Carolinas, Atlanta, and Florida.
Hey.
And how did you rise so fast, like, through that company? Because what was your starting title? What was your?
I was started as a VP of operations.
This is the guy that didn't want to hire you initially, right? Because he had no education.
Too rough.
Yeah. Right. Leaving that company in 2003 was probably the hardest business decision I ever made. Joel Altman and I stood up in front of our entire company, arm in arm with each other, hugging each other, crying, and saying goodbye to each other. And that was the toughest business moment of my life.
And so why did you decide to leave?
Well, a couple of reasons. One is, a lot of what we were doing in 2003 started to move into condominium development. And that really wasn't my business. It was a different risk profile than what I knew. And, all the partners. And so I, ended up being a partner. We all signed on the construction loans, guarantees and stuff. And I just didn't appreciate the condominium development business in 2003. And I made a lot of my money from our operations team and our management company. And, I was really the liaison for most of our third party investors. And we had a lot of institutional investors back then, Northwestern Mutual Life, Cigna, and others. And my main job was interfacing with them. And so moving into condo development, it was a completely different world, and I wasn't real comfortable with it. We had toyed around with doing starting a value add fund to rehab apartments, and we'd done a few. And, given what a perfectionist Joel was at the time, going and rehabbing a property was not the smoothest thing to do, because easiest thing to do, because if I went in and thought, well, we should change the carpet and the appliances and then raise the rent $200, then I walked in with Joel, Joel would be like, well, we need to change all the hinges on the doors and all the switch plates and all the outlet covers. Yeah. These are all scratched up. And I'm like, we're not going to get money for that. And by the time we were done with one project, I remember it was just like we just built the project over. Yeah. It was a brand new project, and so we didn't make any money. But anyways, Joel and I had a great run during that period of time, but I felt like I needed to do something different. It was high stress, very stressful. Stressful time in my life.
You have any kids at this point?
In 2003, no. We had been trying to have kids, and we're being unsuccessful at it. So at 2003, when I left, we had not had kids yet. We've been trying for about 4 years.
Okay.
And so anyways, a lot of stress. So I left to go become a broker at CBRE. And
how did that come about?
So there was a gentleman that was probably the second big mentor in business to me, Jay Masterman.
Oh, Jay's been on the podcast.
Yeah, Jay recruited me. Him and his partner at the time was Denny St. Romain. And they, over a course of a year, just said, hey, you should come work with us. And I decided one time that, I needed to do something different. And I took him up on the offer, and I went to work with him at CBRE as a partner, on our South Florida multifamily business. And that's where I've been pretty much ever since. And but
on the investment sales side.
On the investment sales side, right. So we buy and sell. I mean, we transact, apartment sales. We do land sales or big land sale business. We have now when I started in 2003, we didn't do all that. We just sold apartments. But now we do land. We do equity raises for the developments. We do debt placement. We do recapitalizations. We do mixed-use projects, huge mixed-use projects like Miami World Center and Midtown Miami and Fat Village. But back then we were just transacting apartments. We were the number 2 or 3 group at the time in 2003.
That's a hell of a leap from a salary partnered position at a big developer to going. I mean, I don't know what
I went 9 months with no paycheck.
Yeah.
It was.
Jay didn't fucking pay you?
Yeah.
There was nothing to pay. It was all commission based.
Fucking cheap guy.
It was all commission based.
No draw, nothing. No. So that's purely lifestyle induced, that jump, because that's a pretty nerve-wracking jump.
Were you doing all right? I mean, you did well at Altman.
My father at the time, he was like, "What is wrong with you? What are you talking about? You're the top 1%, wage earners in the country. You can't leave this job. You don't have a college degree. You should be thankful for what you got." And so, it was pretty good. I mean, we were probably, I don't know, we were pulling in probably $350,000 plus partnership interest in deals Altman? That we were selling at Altman back in 2003.
So you left with you had a little nest egg that you can.
We create a little nest egg. Yeah. Joel was the first person to help me allow me to make money.
Yeah.
Joel Altman was the first guy to let me make money. So in 1999, I had never had $10,000 in the bank. I'd never had $10,000, and I was running the Altman companies, and I got a call from Harvard University, and they asked me to go do a study for Tampa public housing, and they said, if you go do this study for us, and then you come up to Cambridge and you present it to us, we'll pay you $10,000. And I had never had $10,000. This is right before they promoted me to president of the company, and so I did that. I went up there. They sent me a beautiful check, one of those big checks with a gold line around it, Harvard School of Business, and it was $10,000 to Robert Given. I slid that into the bank, and I was as proud as a peacock. I was like, it's the most money I'd ever had. And they froze all my accounts. And I'm like, they froze my credit card, they froze my savings account, my checking account.
This guy's full of shit. This check's fake.
Suspicious activity report.
Suspicious activity. They froze my account for 21 days. I rolled quarters. My wife and I rolled quarters at the time to eat.
Dang.
For 21 days. And then 2 months later, they made me the president of the company. And I was like, this is so embarrassing. But anyways, that's the first time I made money. So then from 2000 to 2003, I really was able to make a little net worth with Joel. We were selling properties and I was making good money.
So that allowed you to take the leap with
it did. I had a few $100,000 and a few $100,000 in the bank in 2003 at that point. And I thought, well, if I'm ever going to go out on my own, if I'm ever going to, be more entrepreneurial, I need to do it now.
Yeah. And
so I did it. I was 33 years old. And as soon as I did, the condo conversion market hit. So I landed at CB on a Monday, and on Tuesday, everybody wanted to sell apartments as condominium converters. And Jay Masterman and Denny St. Romain and I started. Denny left about 6 months into it, but then Jay and I continued for, I guess, 2.5 years. And we sold, I don't know, a couple hundred apartment conversions. We made a fortune.
Yeah.
Doing that. We would get, people would call us on a Friday afternoon and say, we want to list a property with you. We want you to be on the market Monday.
Dang.
And we would put it on the market on Monday. We'd have call for offers in 3 weeks. We had these huge deposits. Every deal that we put under contract closed. And from 2003, 4, and 5, we printed money.
Fucking A.
Yeah.
And what were you doing with that money? Were you stuffing it? Were you saving it? Were you spending it? Were you
a little bit of everything?
Yeah.
We built a house in Fort Lauderdale. We started buying some toys. Started investing some money. I started putting money in a magazine, in a bunch of ventures. Starting magazines, buying coal mining business. Did all kinds of crazy stuff. By 2007, I was broke.
Shit.
2007, I didn't have enough money in that year to pay the real estate taxes on my house. I didn't know anything on my house, but I couldn't pay the real estate taxes that year. Someone you probably had on the podcast, I don't want to mention, I think bought the tax certificate from Broward County. They called me up and said, "Hey, Robert, we bought this batch of tax certificates, and one of them is your house." And I said, "Yeah, I know, I didn't pay it." He said, "Well, we're going to put it aside. We're going to hold it over here until you pay it." And so later in the year, I paid it.
What a lovely human being.
Yeah,
it was. Yeah. I ended up buying him a pair of Red Sox for Christmas one year. So in any case, 2007 was tough and didn't have any money, and business was nowhere. It was great.
No kids still at this point?
I had my first son in 2005. We adopted my first son, Nate, and at birth, and he is 21. He's in the marine construction business now, and he is a hardworking, smart, fun guy. And he and I love spending time together. And we're on the Bahamas in a couple of weeks. And he's got a great girlfriend and just a beautiful human being. And so we had him in 2005, and then we had our second son, JP, in 2007. We were using all those fancy things you do by inject shit in yourself and all this stuff. I don't know what it all was.
IVF.
Something like that.
Yeah.
And so we had him in 2007. He turns 19 tomorrow.
Okay.
It's
Happy
his
birthday.
Yep. It's his birthday. I'm taking him to play golf. And another smart kid.
Who's better at golf?
So
Can you still whoop his ass?
he probably beats me 3 times out of 4, so 75% of the time. But I beat him last week.
Okay, that's the one. That's the only one that counts.
Right. That's what I tell him.
Old man still got it.
Yeah, right. So I beat him last week. So, anyways, so 2 boys are doing great, but they were born in 05 and 07.
Okay.
Yeah. And Nate and JP. And they're actually moving out this summer and becoming roommates together. So
That's awesome.
Pretty cool.
But what a run you had. I mean, it almost seemed prescient that you would leave being a principal at Altman, right before the huge 07 blow up to be a broker. Probably the best time to be a broker. Just take that run up into 07, and then the bottom fell out.
Yeah, the bottom fell out. And so we were sitting there, and so you remember that show where you vote people off the island?
Survivor.
Survivor?
Yeah.
So Survivor was a big show back in 07, 08, 09. And I think we had about 15 people on the team. And about every month, I'd sit around the conference table and said, "We're going to have to let somebody else go." And every month for, more than a year, we would have to reduce the team by somebody. We got down to me and 2 people. My current partner, Zach, and then an administrative person. And that was, I think, 08 or 09. And I was ready to quit the business. It was 08. I was ready to go back to Memphis. I had bid on buying 4 or 5 bankrupt restaurants, and I was going to make them into Del Tacos. And I was trying to cut the deal with Del Taco. They hadn't come east of the Mississippi River yet. And I still had all these restaurant ties with relatives that were like, saying, "Hey, giving me this experience, recommendations." And I was putting the money together. And I bid on buying these 5 bankrupt restaurants that were basically Captain D's, like Long John Silver type. And I was going to convert them into Del Tacos. And I was getting out of this business because I was making no money. I was going to move back to Tennessee. And I lost the bid by $75,000 or something. Felt like an insider trade, but whatever. So, so I lost that bid, and I'm sitting there with Zach, and I'm like, "We got to do something. We got to do something because we're not making any money."
And Jay has left at this point.
Oh, Jay left in 05.
Yeah,
Jay left. He left in 05. So, Zach and I decided we'd start selling fractured condo buildings. Well, none of our competitors wanted to touch it because it wasn't, quote, institutional. And the buyers were weird. I mean, there's private capital from all over the world, And so we probably sold 30, 35 fractured condo deals all over the state of Florida before any of our competitors would touch it. And then we became known as the fractured condo guys.
Talk a little bit about what fractured condos are.
So in 03, 04, 05, 06, we're selling all these buildings, apartment buildings to condo guys that were going to convert them to condos. They were de-leasing them, and then they were selling the individual units as condos. And a lot of those guys made a lot of money. They got in and out. But then 07 hit, and a lot of these guys were left holding the bag, meaning that they'd only sold 20% of the units or 10% of the units or 50% of the units. And there was no selling the balance of the units. And so they had to lease those up as apartments, and they didn't know what to do with them. They were over-levered. The banks were taking them back because back then you do a condo conversion and you probably get a 98% loan. It's just because people were just printing money. And so, these guys with these were called fractured condos because there were 50% of the units or 70% of the units of an apartment building. The others were sold out condos. They were hard to finance. There was no lending mechanism for them. A lot of guys are having to buy them all cash. And so we started selling those things, and people found out that we were selling them, and we had identified the capital that wanted to own them and buy them. And so we were getting called by the FDIC. The FDIC had me sell their largest take back in the great financial crisis in the state of Florida, maybe in the Southeast U.S., but definitely in the state of Florida. It was up in Panama City. It was a $200 million development called Lake Town Wharf. And the FDIC office from Jacksonville called me up and said, "Hey, we understand you're doing these fractured condo deals. We need to sell this thing over here in Panama City." And I'm like, Panama City? I don't know. So anyways, I went up there. We ended up what was this thing? This thing was like 1,000 units and 200,000 square feet of vacant retail. And I'm like, look at this, it's vacant. 1,000 vacant, it was 800 vacant apartments and 200,000 vacant square foot of retail. It had a $150 million loan on it. They spent $200 million to build it. I'm looking at this thing, and I'm thinking, it's in Panama City. It's not on the beach. It's across the street from the beach. There's no access to the beach. You can see the beach, but there's no access to the beach. I'm like, this is the most improper thing to build. And so I called the FDIC. I said, listen, you need to split this thing up into thirds. 1/3 you need to make a hotel. 1/3 you need to start leasing as apartments. 1/3 you need to start selling as condos. And anybody that can breathe on a mirror should come in here as a retailer at the bottom.
Ben, you know what they say in real estate, if people don't know you, they're not doing business with you.
Exactly. That's why the Built World podcast works with top-of-mind public relations, because being a best-kept secret sure doesn't pay the bills.
Paula Uspa Abbott, the brains behind Top of Mind PR, is a former real estate journalist, so she knows exactly what makes the media pay attention.
And let's be real, getting in the press isn't just about bragging rights. It's about building credibility, landing deals, and making sure the right people know your name.
Whether it's top-tier media coverage, killer storytelling, or just making sure you're the one people think of first, Top of Mind PR has you covered.
Want to stand out? Hit up topofmind-pr.com or email info@topofmind-pr.com.
Because in real estate, if you're not visible, you're invisible.
And I said, we need to spend a year doing this and making some type of cash flow, and then we go sell it. Anyway, we ended up selling that thing. I think we ended up selling it for like 40 or 50 million bucks. Think about that. It cost them $200 million to build it. Had a $150 million loan on it with Chorus Bank. And FDIC took over the bank. I remember being on the phone with the guy with the bank, and he said, "Hey, wait a minute, the feds are coming in." And they come in and raid the office while I'm on the phone with this guy. And anyway, so we got that assignment. So we had all kinds of crazy assignments like that because we were selling these fractured condos.
Yeah.
How big are the commissions on these deals? Because it's kind of nobody's money. It's like the bank's money, the FDIC's money. Like, do they even care?
Well, yeah, they care. You would think someone losing $100 million on a deal wouldn't care whether or not you made
just throw me a few
$300,000 or $800,000, but they care. It's like that's the money that's going to pay the bills.
Yeah,
the commission. So it's always a hard negotiation when you're on the commissions. But In any case, we had a lot of fun doing that. So by 2010, we had built this reputation and we had built a pipeline. We started hiring people again in 2009.
Still a CBRE?
Oh yeah.
Started to make some money. Started
to make some money.
Yeah.
We started hiring people again. And in 2010, we got our first real core assignment to sell. And that assignment came from Trammell Crow. And
full circle moment.
Yeah, out in Plantation, Broward County. Big core deal. We sold it to a big institutional advisor, and it was the biggest price per unit since the condo sales in 2005. And it was $200,000 a unit, and that was late 2010, like September 2010. When we sold that, one, it was huge because of just the price we got for it, but it was also the starting block gun that goes off that tells all the developers it's time to develop again. We'd gone 5 years without developing, and doing that sell, let all the South Florida developers know you could start finding sites again, start building again.
So you think we bottomed out mid 2010?
We bottomed out in mid 2010. Yep, we started ticking back up when we closed that deal late in the fourth quarter. So 2011, you started seeing development pipeline start emerging again.
I remember My Brickle, and Brickle was like one of the first ones Related went in on. Mm-hmm. And from there, it's been a tear ever since, pretty much.
It has. And it really kind of stepped up from 2011 to 2015, 16. Then there was another step up. And then COVID hit and it paused. And then there's a huge step up right after COVID again.
And when you're at a big shop like CBRE and you're kind of trying to find your footing after 2007, like what's your business development strategy? Because they're not sending you leads. You got to find your own. You got to kind of build your own book of business. Like these fractured condo deals, are you cold calling these fractured? Like how are you building up that business? Like
that's a great question, and I'll just tell you. So as I told you, when I was at Altman, and we had about 15,000 units. We were the GP in about half of those. The other half were all third-party management business. And so one of the big claims to fame that I had at Altman was that I went out and pitched our third-party management business for a number of years. So we would go to these institutions that own these apartments and pitch our management services, and we would get hired. So when I left in 2003, going to these institutions and pitching them on hiring you to sell their properties, it was the same people. So I already knew all these asset managers in New York and Chicago and Atlanta and Boston and Dallas. And so Robert Gibbons coming in, but he's not coming in to pitches for management. He's coming in to pitches for selling a property. So the first real inroad was in 2003, emerging from third party management into sales with the institutions. And so that's how I really helped our team back then get those business leads.
I mean, what a parlay with those relationships.
Yes, but starting in somewhere in the Great Financial Crisis, my book of clients broke up into 3 sets, and it emerged into a whole new world. And so since the GFC, I've had 3 sets of clients. I'll explain. First set are friends. These are guys like Joel, who I've done a ton of business with over the last 20 years, brokering deals for him, selling his deals. And, friends like Greg West at ZOM and, Styles guys. And these are folks that I just sit down with and we'll just agree to do something and we don't need to sign an agreement on it. We just do a handshake on it. These are your friends. And they care about you and they care about your business. They care about your family and I care about them and, want to get their stuff done. And we will bleed to get each other's, projects done, whether we're trying to capitalize it or sell it or whatever it is. So that's group number 1, your friends. The second group are, unfortunately, more like bureaucrats. And these are kind of 35 to 50-year-old folks sitting in, asset management positions in large institutions. And, they're really trying to get through investment committee week after week. They're putting stuff into their models, trying to hit IRRs. They didn't build the property. They just bought it and they're going to trade it. And so they're not real emotional about it. The first set of friends I have, most of those guys are developers and they built their properties and they're artists of their trade and they're passionate about their properties. The second group, it's just a spreadsheet. They may never even seen the property. And so they don't really know you, they don't really care. So you just got to win that business. That's the business that you're pitching. They're more concerned about, what the fees are and
your track record.
Yeah. And they're talking to five different brokerage firms every time you go pitch the business. And, they're just processing, right? And that's just the nature of what it is. And so that's not a lot of fun, but, got a lot of good friends that you make in that side of the business as well over the years. But that's a tougher side of the business. The third set of clients that I have, that's where I've really excelled, I think, over my competitors and where we've really done the best, differentiating ourselves from others. And that third set are crooks, criminals, and assholes. And so that set, really, you got to have a good skill set to deal with. So, and that said, I will not name any names, but I will just say,
you're not going to throw Nitin in there, or Alan Hooper, or
Nitin knows a lot of them. Nitin knows a lot of them.
Alan Hooper and
Hooper knows a few of them.
Tim
Hooper
Tim
is
Petrillo.
wait a minute. Hooper and Tim are like lily white. Well, Tim's not lily white, but Alan's definitely lily white. So he doesn't know any of those guys.
Yeah.
Tim, he knows those guys.
Oh, Tim for sure.
Yeah. They're up in Giselle, and
sure.
he knows all those guys, right? But in any case, those are my three sets of clients today.
Yeah.
So what do you do with the crooks and assholes? How do you
crooks, criminals, and assholes?
Yeah.
Well, I kind of can read those guys, and we kind of get each other. We kind of get each other, and so when we sit down, we make deals. We know how to make deals.
a lot of body language communication.
A lot of body language. The deal's never done until the deal's done.
Yeah.
And those are some big deals that we're dealing with there. Yeah. I can't go too far into it. Like I said, this is like a deposition. You guys recorded everything. About 3 months ago, one of my a client came to me, a friend of my client, and he wanted to produce a movie. And he said, and he had heard this spill of like who my client base is, and he's known me for, I don't know, 2 or 3 decades. And we've done some big stuff together. And he said, "Hey, I want to fund a movie about Miami real estate."
Well, that's cool.
And I said, "Okay, cool." And he said, "And I like, I have a driver named Igor. A lot of my clients know Igor because he's always driving, and they're always making fun of him."
Did Igor drive you here today?
He did. He's out in the park a lot.
All right, nice. Yeah. So we still have some more drinks to have with Robert.
And so he used to be in the Russian military, so he's always packing.
Oh, he's KGB, huh?
Oh, he's got a little edge to him. And so in any case, so we got this big black Cadillac we drive around in, because sometimes we have people, get in the car and we're showing them around. And so I basically, work out of this thing every day. And so he said, "I want to make a movie about you driving around this Cadillac with Igor, doing these big deals and, talking about your clients, this, that, and the other." I'm sitting here going, there is no fucking way I am doing that. I don't know if that's legal to say that, but there's no way we're doing this. He said, "Yeah, this would be great." And I'm like, "No." I said, "When I retire, I'm not even doing that." I said, "You'll bury my business, you'll bury me." Yeah. So anyways, they like that story of the 3 different categories of clients.
Yeah, I'm sure. And it's a great categorization. I mean, if you've ever done any real estate deal in Miami, everyone knows what you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Very relatable.
Yeah.
So how did your business develop after the fractured condo stuff? And how's it kind of matured since then? What is it?
Well, in 2010, we did that big core deal I told you about with a big price per unit. It was a couple $100 million. And that started getting the development pipeline going. And then we got to be known as the, Class A, guys selling the big deals. Today, we probably control, I don't know, top 60 or 75% of the of the top 10 trades, however you slice it, by deal size, by price per unit, by price per foot, by county, by South Florida.
So when I asked you about your business development angle, did you kind of go back to those relationships again, or did you kind of have to rebuild yourself after 07?
I would think, I think by 2011, well, in 2007, we started getting inbounds once we started selling fractured condo deals, and then you get to be known as the fractured condo sales guys. And so you get inbounds. That's happening. Once we started doing the big institutional stuff in 2011, same thing. Now, somewhere around that time, 2011, 2012, I started studying people making money doing what I do around the country. And I was like, who's making the most money doing what I do in the United States?
NACL.
And so it was before the NACL. So this was Darcy Staken up in New York, who Bob NACL would compete against.
Got it.
But Bob was doing a lot of the smaller mid-market stuff, and she was doing all the big trophy stuff in Manhattan, her and her partner. And like Darcy Staken is the top producer in CBRE globally just about every year is what I was back then, is what I was looking at. So I went up there and I sat with her for a couple of days to learn what she did. And one of the things that I noticed is that if it wasn't on, if it wasn't in the city, she referred it out to other people and didn't deal with it. So I had people like, hey, Robert, can you run the state of Florida? Can you run the Southeast? Can you run the multifamily practice at this company? Can you do this, do that? And I remember studying Darcy. I'm like, Darcy doesn't do stuff if it's across the bridge. She refers it to somebody else and doesn't care if she gets a referral fee. But if it's in the city, it doesn't matter what it is, she controlled it. Whether it was an office building, an apartment building, a hotel, a piece of dirt, whatever it was, a train station. If it was in the city, she was handling it. And I came back to Florida and I thought to myself, that's what I should do. I just concentrate on the Tri-County area down here. And if it moves, we need to have a team on it. Someone on my team needs to be on it. So we started a land business, and we started doing land.
But really, land for multifamily development.
Land for multifamily development, but it ends up being land for anything, especially the urban stuff.
Yeah.
So we sold Teva Pharmaceutical facility to Heinz out in Doral to build apartments, but we didn't know what the hell they were going to build. All this stuff downtown Miami, we sold,
mixed use.
It could be an office building. It could be whatever. We sold that $520 million deal last year to Oak Row and Oco for Aimco. The $250 million site to Mello down there in Brickell City Center, which we had originally sold to Swire to do an office building back in 2013. To Kirshner to build a hotel with 13th floor on the north side of Brickell City Center. That all the stuff in Miami World Center we sold over the course of 10 years. All kinds of different guys, different uses. But anyway, so 2011 or so, I'm like, I'd studied Darcy, and I'm like, in New York. I'm like, if it's in the city, she controls it. So we put a team on anything that had a bedroom. So that included hotels. So we had a team on hotels. We had a team doing land. We had a team raising equity. Had a team doing debt. Had a team doing apartments. We did equity raises for apartments, recapitalizations. And we started doing mixed-use led projects because they're mostly led by residential development. And so now I had 5 or 6 different teams doing stuff, and I just was trying to do what she did in New York and only worry about stuff in the Tri-County area. And I don't know, somewhere around 2014 or 15, I got rid of the hotel stuff because that's complicated. That's just an operating business. It's not really what we were doing. It wasn't the same group of investors, that sort of thing. But most of the other stuff stuck, especially the land.
Yeah.
And then, I had put one of my partners on just small cap stuff, call it $5 million to $50 million. And then other partners on just downtown urban high rises, another partner on institutional suburban stuff, another partner on debt, another partner on equity, another partner on land. And,
just South Florida.
Just the Tri-County. There's so much to do down here. I was like, I don't need to be doing stuff all over the state of Florida.
Yeah.
I don't need to be doing stuff all over the country. I just need to be doing stuff here. Prior to that, Jay and I were doing shit in Boston, Houston. We were doing Crested Butte, Colorado. I was selling stuff in the Bahamas and New Mexico and California.
The learning curve on stuff outside of
It's
South
high.
Florida, it's high, right?
It's high. It's not worth it. Juice isn't worth the squeeze.
Yeah. So, I mean, you become the expert here because you know it better than anyone.
Right. So I just we built this database and we know everything in every street corner.
Yeah.
We knew who's doing what. And then because we're an organization.
I'm sorry. And just for the brokers that are listening, when you said you built your own database, what is that? What does that database consist of?
Well, I mean, there's a few different databases. I mean, your typical brokers have got it got ownership and, that sort of thing and assets. But we also created a database because we're at CBRE. We were able to be on the leading edge of knowing who's about to lease something. So just imagine I'm selling an apartment building in Plantation and my office team is telling me, about leases that are about to get signed. And my retail team's telling me about leases that are about to get signed. And so we would use that information to our advantage to get the apartment deals, either win the deal or sell it. And, it became quite powerful.
Yeah.
So if you're at a firm that doesn't have all those different disciplines, it became, you're at a disadvantage of it, and even if you are at a firm with all those different disciplines, managing them all together and extracting that information is still, it's still a task.
Yep.
Today the task is trying to learn how to tame AI and get that to work for you because everybody out there's got it. And so, you got to pay attention and do it. But managing AI is a whole new skill set.
And we want to talk a little bit about AI too.
I didn't come in here to talk about AI.
No,
but I'll answer a couple of questions since I'm cross-examined here.
How big is your team, by the way?
You got 30 folks.
30 folks on the team. Mm-hmm. And
that's brokers, marketing people, analysts, research people.
And you guys are just strictly focused on South Florida still?
20 something of them are just South Florida, and then some of them help in other markets.
Okay.
When you talk about this team, are these guys all under you? Is it your team, or is it just CBRE in general in South Florida?
That's just the team I assemble. That's just my team.
Right.
No, the CBRE's got 170,000 employees.
Right.
They're all over the damn place.
Yeah.
And do you yourself use AI? Are the younger people on your team using it? Is this something that's kind of front and center for your team and CBRE in general?
I went and saw that movie Young Washington the other day. Have you guys seen that yet?
Mm-mm.
That's a great movie. You should go
Is it
see
new?
Young Washington. Yeah, it just came out. I went and saw it last night, and it's great because it talks about him kind of growing up as a Virginian and wanting to go work, or he wanted to go become basically a British soldier, and they said no, you can't because you're a colonist and that's not your place, and but he fought and he kind of won their respect doing some different things, and then they made him the basically general of the colonial army of Virginia. And but it was funny because you guys will remember, the story is when we fought for independence here in the United States 250 years ago, that our competitors, the French and the British, they would all come out in a very sophisticated row of fighting out on the big plain, and they would sit, they would kneel and shoot, and very proper fighting techniques. And we would hang in trees and behind bushes and,
Fight
come
dirty.
out and fight dirty.
Yeah.
And
That's the best way to
so,
fight.
Yeah.
right. And so thinking about this AI stuff, I think everyone on my team who's using AI, we're kind of fighting dirty right now.
Yeah.
We don't have it all organized, sophisticated like the British Army did. We're more like the colonists. And we're free shooting, I think is what they call it.
Yeah.
And so everybody's experimenting and doing something a little different and that, what have you. But it's definitely moving the needle. It's definitely moving things quicker, and it's helping. And it's, and we know our clients are using Claude, and we kind of, it's kind of like a game of chess. You kind of know what the other guy's doing and what they're going to put it in their AI system and what it's going to spit out.
I mean, it's just really a way to do more with less, right?
It is, but I mean, I think it's a specific skill set to know how to use AI.
Yeah.
Like they have a new AI program. I don't know what it's called, but it tells you which AI you should use for a specific task. So like I have like on my phone just for personal use, I got ChatGPT, and then I got this other thing that makes videos. So I could take a picture of us, and I put it in this thing, and then it can make a video of whatever of us talking, even though I didn't give him a video, I just gave him a still picture. And I can tell him what I want the video to do, or I can make it a cartoon video, or I can do. Anyway, so this one thing tells you what type of, which AI system you should use based on what task you're trying to do. And so whether it's Claude or, the version, whatever of ChatGPT or what have you. So there is a skill set that is emerging with young folks that we're interviewing now, where they learn how to use it efficiently.
Hey guys, Ben here. Quick break from the show. I've got something I'm genuinely fired up about. I just bought a wakeboard school. It's called Gatorbait Wakeboard and Wake Surf School, and we're located right off the Rickenbacker Causeway in Key Biscayne, literally just over the bridge from Brickell. If you've ever wanted to learn how to wakeboard or wake surf, or even if you're already into it and just want to get better, this is exactly what we do. Private lessons, super dialed in coaching, premium gear, and the latest 2026 Mastercraft boats. You just show up and ride. This has been my favorite sport since I was a kid. I'm sure you've heard me light up when people bring it up on the podcast. I'm completely obsessed with it. So getting to own and operate a school like this is pretty surreal. If you're in Miami or visiting, come ride with us. Check us out at gatorbaitwakeboard.com or hit the link in the show notes. All right, back to the episode.
I mean, with the data that you guys have, and there's so many interesting things you can probably do with AI. And, it's the question is, how do you prompt it to find some of the answers that you're looking for from the data?
You got to know what the question is first. You got to, sometimes it's just figuring out what the question is.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But I mean, with the data you have, and if that data is clean, I mean, there's so much you can do with it.
It's very powerful.
Yeah.
It is. But a lot of it's about sticking the data in.
Yeah.
About getting the data in there and organizing it and telling AI what you want it to do.
It is.
Yeah. So I think we're still just at the precipice of it.
Yeah.
I mean, we are using it. Everybody on my team is using it in some way, whether we're building an offering memorandum or we're putting, we're scanning in, letters of intent for a offer summary matrix, or we're, using it for, investor relations. It's powerful.
Yeah, it is.
You sit at a unique position in the Miami real estate community. What do you think? What do you think's the future of Miami real estate looks like? Like
South Florida. Like,
you've seen the ups and downs in the cycles. We haven't had a down cycle in a long time. Do you think this momentum keeps carrying? I mean, what's your take on the market?
Well, I mean, listen, if I brought 10 developers in here, they'd all tell you we're 3 years in a down cycle for development right now.
Yeah.
It's hard to capitalize.
Well, especially multifamily.
Fundamentals,
rental,
fundamentals are a little bit choppy, that sort of thing. Interest rates are a little higher than we want. But South Florida has a very bright future. From what we need is more jobs down here, because we're building the infrastructure. We're building our neighborhoods. Our neighborhoods have character. We are a global city at this point. When I got here in 1996, we were not.
No.
Yeah. When I started in the apartment business in 2003, we were not. I mean, Miami-Dade was thinly traded in the investment institutional investment world. We were thinly traded. Now everybody wants a piece of it. They want a part of their portfolio here. Folks will tell you we want 7%, 8%, 15% of our portfolio income coming from South Florida. And previously we weren't even on the market. I mean, on the radar. So we do have a very bright future, but we do need more jobs. We got a great infrastructure that we've been building, whether that's hospitals or improving the schools, mass transit.
A really sick bridge.
We got this great, cool looking bridge that's coming out. What's great about that is it's going to have this park, and it's going to raise the clearance underneath the bridge. So it connects the city, the Edgewater, to downtown. That's what's going to be cool about the bridge. Not how pretty the bridge is, but the fact that the bridge is now 60 feet high.
Yeah.
But more and more folks are going to want to continue to be here. When you travel around, the lifestyle here, the boating, the fishing, the ability to go to the Bahamas and the Caribbean, the international flight patterns that we have here, there's a real passion for folks that live here or people that are coming here that want to be here. This COVID phenomenon that occurred, I think a lot of people thought about coming here, but that allowed you to work, independently here, which gave a lot of people an excuse to come try it. And now that they've tried it, I think people don't want to leave, and I think that's going to continue. When you got people like, Ken Griffin and the Citadel and all the folks, the dynamic folks that are in his infrastructure, and what Steve Ross and Ken Himmel are doing up in Palm Beach, and I feel the next big thing is someone's going to adopt Fort Lauderdale and going to do what Steve Ross and Ken are doing up there in West Palm with Fort Lauderdale. Been talking to a few groups already that are thinking that way.
Yeah, we love to shit on Fort Lauderdale on this
the ugly
podcast.
stepchild.
Yeah, the ugly stepchild. And, it's kind of like the big donut hole, right?
It is. But it's, it's such a great place to live.
It is.
It's a
we shit on Fort Lauderdale so bad when Tim and Alan were on the podcast that they invited us up there and gave us a tour of,
I don't know if it was much of an invite as they made us go up there.
They made us go up there. And so they gave us a little tour. And we went up there a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
And I hadn't been up there in 7 or 8 years, and it's incredible what's happened. I mean, downtown Fort Lauderdale looks like a little brickle.
Yeah. So we've got great rents on Las Olas Boulevard there.
Yeah.
For office. We got a great lifestyle. Hines is doing an incredible job up there with Fat Village.
Yeah.
They have their first what they call a T3 product office building there, which is an office building made out of timber.
Yep.
Not steel, not
I think Tim and Alan are partners in that deal.
They're partners in that deal. I put that deal together with them.
Oh, cool.
Yep.
Yeah.
And, the beach there is beautiful. That Tortuga Fest there. They have the big boat show there. It's a more interesting intercoastal waterway feel there if you're a boater. It's a beautiful place to boat.
It's all no wake zones up there, isn't it?
There's a lot of no wake zones, but I mean, it's just, there's a lot of activity on the water there,
right?
And it's close proximity. And, getting out of Port Everglades and going down to the Keys of the Bahamas is super easy. I feel like there's a lot going for it. If we could move an arena down to downtown Fort Lauderdale, close to walking distance of the Brightline station there, and put a major venue there, that would be huge. Fort Lauderdale would blow up, in my opinion. But anyways, it's growing and it's emerging, but so is a lot of neighborhoods here in Miami, and what they're doing up in Palm Beach is just spectacular. Anything in and around the Rosemary Square area there is great, and they got new hospitals that are wanting to come to town, and new private schools coming to town, and
but let me ask you a question, Robert, because we had Anthony Graziano and
Juan
Arias on the podcast last week from CoStar.
Yeah.
It sounds like we're losing a little bit of population growth, at least in Miami. And population growth is slowing or is flat in South Florida. Does that concern you at all?
No. I don't. First of all, I think, you can make numbers dance a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
I think that we might be losing some folks and replacing them with others, and maybe by the number of warm bodies, it's flat or a couple percentage lower. But overall, I think we're getting more higher income earners into the area, and that's pretty dynamic because that creates more opportunities and jobs. And in the long run, I think we're seeding ourselves with the ability to create more jobs here.
Yeah.
And, I'm on some boards for some different schools and universities and stuff. And, I get to interview a lot of kids that are graduating another master's program that come down here. And, it used to be they just wanted to go to, Boston or New York or Chicago. But now Miami's on the radar.
Yeah.
Miami's the place they want to be.
Yeah,
It's
so
a
it
great
may
lifestyle.
just be a little dip for a temporary dip, and
I just think that we're trading out. I mean, how do I say this politically correct? We might be trading
We're
you
out.
don't
not
need to.
politically
Yeah, you don't
correct
need to
here.
be politically correct on this.
Well, I mean, I
podcast.
think, think about it. I think we might be getting, we might be trading out someone that can't afford to live in Miami anymore because they're in the lawn care business, and so we might lose two of those folks, but because they got to move somewhere where it's cheaper to live. But we're gaining someone that's that's a data engineer or
hedge fund manager.
hedge fund manager, right? I mean, so like
Yeah.
net. I'm not saying those are better people, but I think they create. That's not the case at all. But that does create a better dynamic for our community to create more jobs and to do more business and have more enterprise here.
So you're a broker that's
By the way, we got to get him out in a couple minutes. He's
Okay.
got to be in Fort Lauderdale
This-
5:30, right?
Right.
this is a good last question.
All right.
What would you say to I feel like there's a sea of brokers now with all the all the influx of people here. Everyone's a broker. Like, what would you say to the brokers out there that are grinding, cold calling, try to find deals? Like, how do you build a book of business that's lasting? Like, what would be your advice to the brokers out there? I think we have a lot of brokers that listen to this.
The first thing is, your integrity is key. You want to keep your nose clean. You want to do right by people, and you want to stay honest, and you want to be a hard worker, and that will pay off in the long run. There are no shortcuts. And if you're at the closing table and your client's unhappy about something, then stop the closing. Don't move forward if your client's not happy, and that'll pay back down the road. Don't be so quick to have a commission because it's that day. Wait for it, and always defend your client's position. And even if that means you don't make $1 today, you make it down the road. And keep getting up every morning, and consistency and dedication will pay off.
Keep grinding.
You heard it here first. One of the most successful brokers here in South Florida.
Absolutely.
Remember, I'm not that smart, guys. I didn't go to college. I don't know any other language. I'm not, not that sophisticated.
Yeah. It's not a complicated business, right? But
it's a people business.
It is a peaceable business. You got to play the long game. And don't burn your bridges.
Don't burn bridges, and don't try to take shortcuts. I tell all these young people trying to get the business right now, I said, there's 4 things I want you to look for in a job or a career. One is you always got to make money. We all got to pay for our kids' school and our house and our vacations and our cars and our retirement and our health care. And so you got to make money. But when you're early in your career, making money is not as important as other things. Building your book of business through having exposure, meaning going to work with somebody or some firm that allows you to meet a lot of people in the business and helps you get your name out there and you get to learn everybody in the business, is important. These are four principles, in my opinion. So you got to make money, but that's not as important in the early years. You got to find a place with exposure. That's important today. You got to get into a place that gives you experience, where there's a high turnover of deals. You're touching a lot of deals every day, because if you go to work for a developer and you're touching 1 deal a month, versus 3 deals a day, you don't learn as much.
Yeah.
You get pigeonholed. So you do got to make money, but put that aside for a moment. You got to get exposure. You got to go to work with someone that's going to allow you to be exposed, that cares about you. You got to get in a place where you got high deal turnover, so you have experience. And then eventually, which is really important for the long game, is you want to definitely feel like you're fitting in somewhere and you're with a group of people, whether it's a mentor or partners, that gives you purpose. You want to feel like because it's hard to get up every day and go to work every day for the rest of your life if you don't feel like you got purpose. Yeah. So, whatever that purpose is, whether you're giving back or you're trying to be the best at something or you're trying to help others, whatever it is, but those 4 components are what I tell young folks that they need to look for when they're thinking about a job. And none of that is none of that allows you to shortcut it.
There's no fast cash.
You know, fast cash burns away quick. Guys,
Right.
thanks for the invite.
Yeah.
Man,
thank you for this.
It was a pleasure.
It was really nice meeting you, Robert. Seriously.
Same here.
Have a great evening and good luck with your meeting at 5:30 in Fort Lauderdale.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Later,
All right,
Robert.
cheers.
See you.
Bye.
Bye.